Welcome, everyone, to the Untitled Q&C podcast, where we talk about what we want to talk about, according to Thomas. That's our tagline. If you haven't met us before, I'm Amy Puzia, and this is
Thomas Koch, and we are Quests and Chaos.
I think you got that opposite, sir. 100% opposite. So, what's been happening? What have we been up to lately?
We've been quarantined. That's the big news of, the world, right? So we've been quarantined for about 2.5 weeks now. Mm-hmm. And that actually finally gave us some time to do this podcast, which we've been wanting to do for a while.
Are you sure? I feel like that gives us no time to do anything, because when we got the orders to go into shelter in place, it was after a Monday episode of Saltmarsh, was it not? And so, and in fact, it was like I heard about it at 2 p.m. And so we had made the decision to bring everybody still to studio, and that we would extend Saltmarsh potentially indefinitely.
Right.
And that we would send everybody that night home with lights, cameras, mugs, dice boxes, dice, like take your things, go home. I don't know when I'll see you again.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. We had, I think, made the decision to go with alternate programming for a while, the Saltmarsh, other things, but we were still going to do it in the studio because there was, it would just be 6 people here. We were going to, switch from the table, and then, at 2 p.m. it was like, oh, no. At midnight, it's shut down. And we took it very seriously.
Yeah.
I think where we wrapped that night and we took a good portion of the studio to our house, turned our living room into a makeshift space, which it's not that big to begin with. So.
Which I do have to say, though, taking conference calls with the Quest and Chaos logo and like a professional professional lighting and everything, people like, your lighting's amazing. And, like on my calls, people are like, you should back off the background a little bit. And I was like, okay, I'm basically in my dining room / living room at this point. Yeah. I'm also pseudo in my pajamas, so let's just back off a little bit.
So we did Tuesday night from the house. Using Zoom. We switched to, we started using that. And then Casey from Wizards of the Couch actually messaged me and said, have you seen Skype? They have this new feature with new text technology to, in OBS, you can grab each person's individual stream. So Wednesday, we
tried Skype. And that didn't quite work as well as there wasn't enough testing time involved into it. So it was a little bit of, it was how they say, a kung fu movie. It was bad overdubbing, especially for us. There was no. I wasn't too sure where you were going with that analogy. I was like, it's a bad kung fu movie, so it was awesome, is what you were saying. So what was the problem with Zoom? So why did we decide to go with Skype other than?
So connection issues mostly. So in Zoom, we also found out all about Zoom's privacy problems, but in Zoom, the gallery view that we are sort of scraping is ever changing when people come and leave and join and leave and join. So if somebody's connection drops and then they rejoin, they move to the end and it shifts everybody's window around.
Which is awesome, because even last night for Call of Cthulhu, I think Thomas and I, in fact, were you somehow in one of the shots? I don't even know what happened. You don't even play the game. But essentially, I was in 2 of the windows, and neither of them were me, which was awesome.
Yeah. So we wanted to try Skype, and it didn't quite work out for that first test.
What was wrong with Skype, though? Because I do
audio sync.
Got it. Because the Skype was nice in the fact that you could grab everybody's individual cameras and put them in a box. And so the difference, I think, was with Zoom. I watch you resize the Zoom interface 5 times to just get everybody in a box, where with Skype, everybody is in an individual box already, and now you're just placing those it into the overlay. So.
So we noticed specific more connection issues with Skype. So
Was that in the settings? Have we?
No, I mean, no. From our players in their homes.
Got it.
They were struggling to connect to Skype when they could connect to Zoom easier.
Which is interesting, but...
Yeah. So whether or not... I still think I want to test Skype some more.
Mm-hmm. Well, there are other services. Like, yes. I work for a company that does WebEx, and technically I could probably hook us all up with WebEx without a problem. You know, I don't have that 40-minute... Again, I don't know what the issues are, but I probably shouldn't be using work resources, but, like, I use WebEx every day. I'm on 6+ calls a day on WebEx, sometimes 2 at a time. It's insane.
Maybe they'd want to sponsor us.
Perhaps I should reach out and be like, hey.
Hey, John.
Yep.
John's not there anymore.
Nope. But yeah, so that was a lot of tech testing, and it still is. And it's still, you know, you're up to the whim of the internet, you know?
Yeah.
In fact, we came back to the studio because it was just us.
Yeah. So, you know, obviously you and I in our living room is the same as us being here because nobody else is here, other than the fact that we have really good internet here and we have really crappy internet at the house.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, I have to give props where it's due. All of those streamers out there that are using virtual tabletops and virtual cameras and everything, it is way harder than doing it in person.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it takes more money to do it in person, but it's way easier. I think maybe for me, because that's what I do for a job.
Perhaps. I mean, here's the thing, though. Again, this is what I also do for a job. And because at work, we've gone and taken all of our broadcasts 100% virtual. So now our new terminology is remote and virtual because all of our presenters are coming in via WebEx to us. And then my crew is actually accessing all of our gear remotely. So you would, like my engineers and my TDs and everybody are actually using their home computers to dial into the computers at work. So we have our studios that are connected to, you know, basically everybody's connected to those studios. So it's different, but it's the same for me in the respect that I'm asking my presenters to come on early, that we are adjusting their cameras, we're adjusting their audio, we're adjusting the lighting in their homes, we're telling them, you know what, that shirt doesn't work, could you do me a favor and go change? And literally I'm like seeing people going, hang on, run away, come back with a different shirt on. I'm meeting their children, I'm meeting their dogs, I'm hearing the boom, 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 like all over the house. I'm like, what is happening? But that takes time. And so, you know, before in studio, it was everybody kind of shows up an hour before with food, hanging out, blah, 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 where now it's like everybody shows up before and I'm like, tilt your camera down, close your blinds, turn on this light, move that out of the frame, et cetera, et cetera. And then once everything is clear, it's like, okay, you've got 10 minutes to, you know, take a break, go get some food and come back. And so, you know, that for me is essentially everything I do every single day. Communication-wise, it has to be a lot clearer because when you overtalk somebody in person, it's very easy. It's not very easy, but it's easier for your ears to hear multiple conversations at once and glean a couple things from it. With those systems, you can't hear anything. It turns into like a garbled mess. So really, it comes down to show opens and rehearsing with my presenters at work, just saying that we're going to do this and then who's going to toss to this person. So after this person speaks, are you going to come back to the host or are we going to go right to the next person? Like these are all things that really have to get timed out and considered.
And when we are here in the studio, especially for Chaos Agents, it's a free-for-all, right? It is.
Yeah.
And in general, Chaos Agents is a free-for-all. So maybe something to rein in going forward, but it's nuts. And I like to be able to just be like, Aaron, tell me this. You know, everybody likes to put Aaron on the spot. You know, come up with a quick saying for Gordon Biersch, you know.
Because he hasn't been thinking about it all day.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it's given us a chance to do other stuff this month too, just because we've started with Saltmarsh and we've now started to integrate our shows back in. So Chaos Agents is going, Cthulhu is still going, but what about other things that we're doing?
So we are still on hold with Natural One, and probably it's probably coming back when we're able to join us here in the studio again. But that also then gives us Mondays in order to try other things. So we are doing more Carbon 2185. We were actually going to do more Carbon 2185 on Sundays.
Yep.
You know, again, it would have been back to that 5 days a week of streaming, which is tough. I don't know. It's tough. Oh my God, it's hard. Anyway, I don't need to tell you because you know.
Yeah.
But so we were able to move that to Mondays to give us a little bit of a space in our schedule. But I don't know where I'm going with this.
Oh, anyway, you know where we're going?
Carbon 2185.
Yep.
Tuesdays, Chaos Agents.
Well, and also I think what's cool about that is that Ezra will be on Carbon 2185, and so will Bo, so that really having everybody come from home, whoever wants to participate in these shows can participate, and we're just trying to mix up the groups and kind of get everybody some airtime if they want to do it. So
should we leave that as a surprise?
Yep, let's talk about that next week. Surprises. But talking about Kickstarters, that brings us to a little segment we like to call This Week in Kickstarter, except that it's not always this week.
The Wick. This Week in Kickstarter. Twick. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the Wick is better. Okay.
It's the Wick.
I had to go back and really figure out if that was actually right or not.
So I think let's first talk about
what I've spent money on that I didn't really tell you about, or you probably weren't listening. As I'm yelling, I'm clicking this. Is this okay?
Let's hear it.
I think I backed like $150 for Frosthaven.
Yes.
Your face was about to go, I'm sorry, what?
That I knew. Because it's such a big box.
The next one you don't know about, and we'll just talk about not how much I've backed it for.
So let's talk about Frosthaven. Frosthaven is the follow-up to Gloomhaven. In fact, it is a sequel slash, as Isaac puts it, it's in the same universe, right? So it's the same Marvel Cinematic Universe as Gloomhaven.
Okay.
Just set in the North.
Yes.
And there's so it's all the Gloomhaven you love, you know.
Or
dying all the time, losing every game.
Picking the wrong game to play.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Titling things wrong, and uploading them without spoilers. And
getting 6 pages of rules wrong.
Hey.
I'm sorry, not 6, 60.
86 pages in that rulebook.
Oh, I thought there were 60 pages in that
rulebook. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't read a novel in years. Why would I want to read all that? Anyway, I'm sorry. I digress. But here was the thing. So they came out on March 31st. And so I think I looked at it the day before and just said, okay, tomorrow morning when you get up and you get a chance, back this. Because we're obviously going to play it on the stream. Gloomhaven is probably our most successful YouTube video.
We're hitting almost 20,000 on the pilot.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure Frosthaven is going to go like bananas as well. And so I ordered it probably between 10 and 11 o'clock Pacific time is probably, I got off a bunch of meetings and said, oh crap, back Frosthaven, went to Kickstarter. They were almost at $3 million when I backed it.
So 3 hours in, they were at $3 million.
Yeah. And they only needed 500,000 to make the campaign go.
Yeah. Looking at the board game, board games are huge, especially for Kickstarter. Tainted Grail was £5 million, so so $8 trillion US.
No, conversion. It would be 5.5. It's like only like 5 to 10%. It's like 1% higher. Anyway,
it used to be double.
Yeah. So I'm like Gloom Frosthaven.
So Frosthaven.
That's going to happen a lot. The Gloom Frosthaven.
Yes.
The Gloom Frosthaven.
Frosty Gloomhaven. Anyway, so Frosty Companion. I wonder if that's going to be the new app.
Could be. I mean, it looks really well thought out. And if you went on the Kickstarter, you would also see the fact that you can get all of the Gloomhaven stuff as well as add-ons to this campaign. So for less money, you could get, I think it was $80 or something, you could actually get the Gloomhaven full box of stuff.
Yeah.
And there are a ton of add-ons. So I think the campaign was really well thought out. So everything that you would be able to buy as an ancillary product to Frosthaven is actually available in the Kickstarter itself. So the app was in there, the removable stickers are in there, all of that stuff is in there. There are a couple things, and I do have to read it from the notes, that are different. Is that, well, I don't know if it's different. I mean, how many scenarios are in Gloomhaven?
86.
Okay, so this supposedly has 100 scenarios. You keep looking at the game.
I know. I used 86 for both the rule book and the number of
I'm
scenarios.
Sure it's all wrong.
Oh,
it's all wrong. Anyway, so there are 100 scenarios to play. There are some enhancements to the game, of which I'm not too sure if I care, don't care, just based on the description. There are loot cards that you can get now. So instead of just getting money and XP, you can also have loot, apparently.
Yeah, so one of the things that they said is that currency is less important in Frosthaven because it's more about survival. Because, Gloomhaven is just it's a walk in the park.
It's not about survival.
So having loot, having magical items and different things is more, or food is more important than having coins.
Got it.
So coins are still going to be there, but not.
I wonder if they're going to kind of create like an Agricola type thing, because the other enhancement to this game that's different than Gloomhaven is the fact that you can build cities. You can build buildings, and so you actually can help rebuild, like you said, Frosthaven. And so there are boons or positives that you can get if you actually spend your time doing community service, if you will. So I'm just wondering, how does the loot potentially affect the building of the buildings?
And how does building Frosthaven look? Is it completely random, or do you just have different choices per every space? Or, that stuff isn't, I don't think, very fleshed. I'm sure it's fleshed out. I don't think it's been revealed yet.
No, it hasn't, because if you look at the campaign, these are just like little notes. In fact, I probably copied and pasted them right into this document I'm reading. The other one I don't care about so much, but I'm just wondering again if it's just the way I'm reading it. So apparently there is a puzzle book. So if you decipher puzzles in this book, it eventually creates like a trail on a map, and if you follow that trail, you unlock Northern Coast lore, which is where Frosthaven takes place. To me, I'm kind of like, that's great unless the lore feeds back. It's like a feedback cycle. It needs to feed back into something of gameplay. Otherwise, I don't know if I care. I'd be like, that's nice. This is fun. Bye.
Yeah, I'm sure that it ties in. And it might, I don't know if it was puzzles or if it's secrets or if it was, there's things that you unlock in Gloomhaven now. Different. You unlock locations and you unlock, different weapons, and you unlock characters that you can play.
No, this one said puzzles, because again, I copied and pasted because I was like, this sounds weird, but whatever. And then do you want to talk about about dying and the seasons?
So there are 2 seasons to Frosthaven. There is summer and there is winter. Summer is easier. Everything is easier in the summer, except for skiing.
Actually, do you think it's going to be easier?
I don't know. You are the one that told me that winter is harder than summer.
That's just what it says. If I take from how you play Gloomhaven, you're still going to die in the summer, and you might as well just quit and give up for winter.
Well, that just is unnecessarily
true.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
So I forgot to look. When does that even show up on our doorstep?
Next year, 2021.
Yeah. Everything right now is 2021.
Yeah. Typical Kickstarters are, you're backing things and you are not going to get them for a while. It's interesting. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with all of this global stuff if we're ever going to get to be able to have manufacture in the U.S., but that month and a half on a boat is a significant amount of time to get from factories in China to the rest of the world. So I don't know. We'll see. But the games are made in China. They are very adept and very good at making them. I was listening. I went to Gamma and I was listening. And we're just
no, it's fine. Just tell me about Gamma.
So I went to Gamma.
Yeah.
It wasn't canceled. Maybe it should have been, but we'll see. They were talking about, basically the factories in China that make games they're not game designers, but they are really good at figuring the production out. So one of the examples was a 2-layer player board. So, for instance, in Tainted Grail, you have the little cubes that fit in squares. So your top board has a whole bunch of cuts in it. Your bottom board has, the graphics and everything. That's the bottom layer. It's complete. And they go through and figure out exactly the amount and placement of glue on that top sheet so that when it's pressed, it covers 100% without spilling over. Like, that's the precision that they are working with at these factories. And, they have people there to do that. So to retool and bring a whole thing to the States would be a lot of work. I don't know if it would be worth it at all, but it seems like could be a need.
Well, does Europe as well manufacture all their games in China?
Some. I know that Nord Games was looking at a printer in Northern Europe to print their book. There are 3 books that are ready now. They're like, we have these 3 books that are ready. You can buy the PDF right now. Links down below. Don't.
Okay, continue.
So anyway, so there are printers in Europe. I don't know if they make board games. Like, those are specifically book publishers. So cards can be printed in Texas. I don't know where we had our business cards printed, but those were done in the U.S. But games specifically are usually done overseas.
Okay. So I think at this point we should just probably kick to the Frosthaven video, and then when we come back, we'll segue into something else.
All right. Sounds good.
Frosthaven. Head north through the Imperial Pass and you'll find it. Sitting on the edge of the world. Surrounded on all sides by the biting cold, unnatural threats, and a lingering cloud of hopelessness. You are a desperate mercenary, sent to keep this harried outpost alive and uncover the secrets of the North. But these secrets want to stay hidden, and every creature on the horizon intends to erase you from the map. Welcome to the northern coast. Try not to freeze to death. Frosthaven is the sequel to the critically acclaimed Gloomhaven, an open-world game of dungeon delving and difficult tactical decisions, set in a unique and vibrant fantasy world. We now return to that world, but leave the relative safety of Gloomhaven to explore new mysteries to the north. Here, players must contend with over 30 new insidious monster types, and 16 new character classes will provide their own unique twists on the familiar and rewarding combat mechanics. Players must also gather the resources necessary to build up the outpost of Frosthaven, so that it can protect itself from invaders and survive the approaching winter. Not only are there a myriad of difficult choices to be made within a scenario, but there are now even more to face in between as well. What buildings will you focus your resources on? What items will you craft? And how will you handle all of the threats that loom in the snowy distance, just beyond the edge of sight? Take up the mantle of the Banner Spear, Blinkblade, Drifter, Deathwalker, Geminate, or Necromancer, and join the fight against the Frost.
Okay. And now we're back.
So I think that pretty much wraps it up for our conversation on Frosthaven, unless you wanted to add anything.
No.
Okay.
No, it's a cool video.
Okay, so should I tell you what else I clicked the button and spent money on?
Should we watch that video before we go into it?
Sure. Oh, actually, You know what? I should actually talk about what we're going to talk about first.
Okay.
So I'm going to tell you... I'm not going to tell you how much money I spent. Let's put it that way. Middle road. So if you really wanted to research it, I went right down the middle of the road as far as Altered Carbon. So I backed that RPG. I was a fan of the series, watched it without you, even though you said, please wait for me. I didn't.
I saw the pilot 2 days ago.
Oh, God. I saw the original right when it launched. Anyway, long story short.
Usually, I can't watch things on Netflix because Amy will watch them with me. Except for one day I'm like, hey, let's watch Altered Carbon. And Amy says, oh, I already watched it.
I couldn't help it. It was good. It was good. And so it was based on a series of books that were written back in 2004. And it's essentially a cyberpunk series. And Netflix now owns the rights to the video. And they have put out an RPG. So let's take a look at that video first.
Bay City, Earth, 2384. A world under UN Protectorate law, where the mega-rich thrive and the streets are filled with crime. A time when death is no longer a finality. The cortical stack, a gift from the elders, holds everything that makes you, you. Every memory, every emotion, stored digitally, making immortality a reality. Welcome to the neo-noir cyberpunk world of Altered Carbon, the role-playing game.
Okay, so Altered Carbon. I am right now halfway through season 2. I'm waiting for you to catch up. But Altered Carbon
Are you? Are you really?
No, not really. It's taking me a while to get through it. Anyway, so it is a cyberpunk series that takes place in 2384, and the RPG itself takes place on Earth in, guess where? Bay City, which is pretty much San Francisco.
They got District 2 and District 3, like Carbon?
No, it does not. Actually, with Altered Carbon, they base it kind of on layers. So the more important you are, the higher up in the sky you live. So those of us who live on the ground, are,
Are there earthquakes in the future?
Supposedly no, but I also find this interesting because Carbon 2185 and Altered Carbon are written by people who live in England.
Right.
And so I find it very fascinating and bizarre to play games and to watch series that are supposedly based on a city that we know intimately.
Right.
And it's like, okay, I know somebody who lives there. That's not exactly what that's like. But anyway, I digress. Anyway, so the RPG itself takes place in even farther past 2185. I don't think they're the same universe, but essentially it's based on, if you've seen season 1 of the Netflix series, you have reference to that.
Right.
And so I think the interesting part about that is the fact that you have stacks and sleeves. And so your stack is like a carbon fiber little disk where you upload basically you live your life and your memories are stored there, and you can upload it to the internet so that if you die or something happens to you or you're just rich, you can re-sleeve with a new body. So there are people, they're called meths, who have been alive for a very long time. In fact, since this AI has been, developed, where you can basically live forever and you just keep making money because you've been around forever, and you just compile the money because now you have infinite amount of time.
Right.
And so in season 1, we meet Takashi Kovacs, where he's actually brought back from the dead or back from quote unquote the dead. His
prison.
stack, from prison. So he's been re-sleeved in order to solve a crime. And so we'll see. I backed the PDF, all of the modules. So all 4 modules we're getting. So apparently when I originally backed it, it was 2 modules. I suspect that there are some issues because they threw in 2 more modules. And then I also backed the hardcover book. And then there are a couple other ancillary things that we're getting with that.
Nice.
And so that's what's going to come. Supposedly it ships in August of this year, but I'm just curious, and that kind of brings us back to Gamma. What does that mean when I'm getting a PDF quote unquote shipped? Is it just going to be a digital download?
So it all depends on the actual publisher of what they're going to do. So Nord Games, as an example, people that we know well, they when they send the PDF to the printer, they also send it to the backers, so that you get the content sooner than waiting that extra 2 to 3 months, or who knows right now, of getting a hardcover book. So you can do that with a book versus a game.
Yeah.
In fact, you that's not true. So a lot of games you get print and play versions.
What did we play that was print and play, where we actually had the rules, and you're like, we could actually print the cards? Didn't we have one?
We did. Oh, it was Fiasco in a Box.
Okay.
So we which wasn't that much different than Fiasco in a Book, except it was in a box, because big retailers like boxes. So that's a little secret in the game trade. Game trade. Trade games. Game trade.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm looking forward to. It would be nice. I would like to kind of run it, or maybe we stick with Warren running it. But, and again, Carbon 2185, I think, was also like that because the books weren't available until a couple months later, but we were already playing it when the PDF was available.
Right. Yeah. So Warren got the PDF, got us the starter. The starter PDF was released so that you could create characters or basic characters, a little bit different than the actual book that ended up shipping. So we had to revise our characters a bit, but it was super fun. We ended up buying a book because Games of Berkeley backed the Kickstarter and got them in store. So that's sort of an interesting thing that we are seeing. We are seeing retailer tiers for Kickstarters.
Yeah.
So that they can get in, and typically they also end up getting in at, I don't know if it's typically, some of them they're getting in at typical retailer pricing, which is, in general, the way things work is wholesale is 50% of the cost. So, if a game costs $50 at the store, it costs the store $25. I don't know if that's exactly true. That's that's like clothing.
Yeah.
So I don't really know.
Altered Carbon, they didn't release that. So I know that there was a retailer division that you could, and it said for retailers only. Right. And I was like, okay, that's not me. I just want to get the books.
Yeah. And sometimes they only charge more. So the book that I bought from Games of Berkeley, I didn't ask how much it was ahead of time. So when I found out, it was way more than I thought it was going to be.
How much was it?
It was like $75.
Yeah, that is a bit much. So we'll have to see when Altered Carbon comes out because I bought the book for $50. So we'll see if the book in retails is $50 or $60 or $75.
Right.
We'll see.
So I guess that we can kind of talk about something that we did back that is probably going to be arriving soon.
Sure.
Is Root, the RPG. And that was one of those things where James reached out. It's like, hey, are you guys going to back this? You going to back this? I'd like to run it. So it's based on the Root board game where you play animals. Is it? I don't really know much about it.
All I know is it's adorable. It's super adorable. And the character sheets are really interesting looking because they keep sending us updates, the Kickstarter updates. And so the character sheets are just well made. They're beautifully drawn. There's a lot of information on it. It's just, I would want to keep printing the character sheets and filling those out. Those are kind of fun. Nice. And so we'll see. I mean, I haven't really looked too much at it because I'm kind of just hoping to play it and not really, ruin
get too spoiled.
Ruin my expectation of it. But we'll see. So I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's going to wrap up our Kickstarter
segment.
Twick.
It's
the Wick.
And that's it, the Wick.
We don't even have a title for this podcast.
It's called, the title of the podcast is called Untitled Podcast.
Okay, Okay.
It's genius. It's going to stick. I guarantee it. Anyway.
Untitled, the story of this podcast.
Untitled, the story of most of the stuff we do.
Yeah.
Anyway.
On artwork as well.
Yeah.
Man. So, it's been a long time coming. We're going to get to our actual main segment, main topic of this podcast.
Monetization.
Yes.
So I think the reason why we wanted to talk about monetization is to let everybody know that Thomas is a freelancer. I have a regular job as a producer, but Thomas is a freelance camera operator. And so when we went into shutdown, essentially he has no work coming in.
Yeah.
And the studio is partially subsidized by his camera rentals and everything else.
Up until February, Quest and Chaos paid no rent. So, now it has to pay all the rent.
Because there is no additional, there is no additional money coming in. So we've been really relying on donations in order to kind of cover the rent on the studio space in order to keep it going. And so we do have to say thank you to everybody who donated in March because we met our rental goals.
Yes.
Yeah. So we paid the rent. Cha-ching, we're here.
So I think that kind of goes to, again, thank you for doing that. We have that tavern upkeep there. And
it's the overlay on Twitch that you can see where we are progressively throughout the month in order to make rent.
Yeah, so in normal world, that is rent plus a little bit extra to improve and do the next thing, which might be a Kickstarter, or it might be getting new artwork, or other expenses that
merch,
we would have.
Who knows? Yeah.
So in the current situation, though, that is like all pretty much going to rent and just keeping this place going.
But
okay.
With that being said, Thomas and I thought it would be important to talk about how money comes in and how it's divided, so that you understand what Twitch basically does and how it splits.
So if you aren't subscribed to our newsletter, you should definitely be subscribed to our newsletter, because we had this information in there a couple weeks ago just to kind of get it out, because we want to be as open and transparent as we can. So I think let's first start with I think what's best for us. I think. So again, I
don't know what is anymore.
So I talked about typical wholesale versus retail. So a T-shirt, for instance, typically costs $10, right? And then we sell it for $20, and that's 100% markup, basically. So that's where we get 100% of the money back. There are other things in there. We have to pay taxes because we're a company and all that stuff. But so buying merch is the best way to support us. I mean, not only it supports us, but you also get something of value. Maybe a shirt with an octopus on it isn't of value, but you get one whether or not you want it.
Which also sounds a bit like a threat, and maybe you should buy them for your enemies.
Oh, yeah, that should be a new thing.
Oh, too bad it's not Christmas, because like
ugly.
You're close. You're getting it. You're getting it. Ugly T-shirt.
Yeah.
No, that's not it. You're not going in the right spot.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Anyway, so what about T-shirts?
Buy them. questandchaos.com/merch.
Anyway. So, but as far as how we keep the lights on, that's probably the most profitable way for us.
Correct.
So what's after that?
So after that is going to be Patreon. So Patreon, and originally we had thought it was about 8% were the fees. There is a merchant fee to get us the money. I don't know if I can set up like bank transfer, which would be cheaper, but right now it goes through PayPal, so there's another 3% or something taken. So that ends up being about 11 to 12%. Still, by far the best, the way that they take the least amount. So from you to us, that's the best way. It's Patreon. We've got 11 fantastic patrons. All of their donations go to the tavern upkeep. So at the beginning of the month, we actually take how much was donated and we put that in a tavern upkeep, and that is, this month was 10% of what we need.
Okay.
So it was automatically a very quick way for us to get to where we need to be. The next way is bits. You want to talk about bits?
Not really. Well, okay, so I can tell.
Yeah.
So if you've seen our show live on Twitch or seen the replays on YouTube, bits come in and we essentially turn those, the way we make it fun for everybody is to take those bits and turn it into what we call inspiration. And so we've just kind of arbitrarily gone with 500 bits, 1,000 bits in increments of 500. So 500 bits equals one inspiration, and the players or the DMs can do things with those inspiration in order to alter the game. How much, though, does that cost, and how much does Twitch take?
Right. So our end of a bit is 1 cent. Right. So 500 bits is $5. You donate 500 bits, we get $5.
How much does it cost to buy the 500 bits?
So if you buy $20 worth of bits, you're only getting 1,500.
Okay.
So that and apparently also, when you purchase them on desktop, it's cheaper than if you purchase them on a mobile device.
Okay.
For whatever reason there is. So that's like 25% that Twitch takes. You can buy more all at once to reduce that, but you're still never going to get into I think, patron territory.
Okay. So on average, what is the percent? What's
I think
the
25.
split?
Most people buy
Okay.
$20 worth of bits
Okay.
at a time.
And Twitch takes 25% right off the top.
Yes.
Okay.
Then the other way to support us is with subscriptions. So subscriptions we have 3 tiers, I believe, a $5, a $10, and a $20 or $25
Yeah. It's
tier.
the latter, 25, yeah. Or $24.99. America and it's 0.99. I don't understand that, but whatever.
So Twitch takes 50% of that. So we definitely like having the subs. Seeing the numbers remain consistent is good for us to know that, okay, at least we know that is coming in, for us. So that is definitely helpful. And we do giveaways based on when people resubscribe every month.
Yep. So we do. Yep. So again, our giveaways are based on how many bits come in and are unused during the gameplay.
Right.
And so we'll give away like Nord Games or Gale Force 9 decks and things like that. And then, like you said, also the subs trigger giveaways. And what you get to sub as well as Patreon is essentially. And again, I think we should probably enhance this a little bit, but we're just trying to come up with ways where if you are a subscriber or you're a patron, you are entered into, or you have the ability to make characters for what we call our mitten.
Yes,
and
our arena battles.
Yeah, our arena battles. And that gives our, so if you win that drawing, you put your name on a list and we just kind of randomly draw 4 or 5 people who will be in that arena battle to make a character for us. And then you are then a coach for one of our players. And so there's direct communication as far as we're playing your character. This is something that you made up. Thank you, awesome. Yeah. Thank you very much for making that up. But then the players during the show itself or during the gameplay itself are on a Discord or a back-end channel discussing how to actually manage the characters. And so I think when I ran the mitten on Monday, I think every single player at the table said that they were very grateful for how their patron, if you will, Patreon patron, subscriber patron, was telling them how to play their coach. Their coach was telling them how to play the game and how to kind of work the characters. Because when you see them at first glance, sometimes it's a little confusing.
Yeah, I mean, building a character from first level on is way easier to grasp than starting at 5th or 6th level to build a character.
Oh yeah, when I played one, I forgot what it was. It was like 15th level. I'm like, this is insane. I don't know anything about this character. Yeah. I know the 3 things that I'm going to do consistently.
Yeah. So right now that is the one perk of being a patron is that you get an extra entry into the mitten drawing. So as a subscriber and a patron, you get 2 entries, and then we put them on a list and we roll a die to see who's going to get it. So and we're definitely open to suggestions. So leave us a comment below or what have you, or send us a tweet. Send us a tweet because we see the Twitter and everything.
I like you're like, we see the Twitter. I see the Twitter. Sometimes I see the Twitter.
So and let us know what you might want to see from a as a Patreon backer, because we know that it's important. But we don't really know what that would be. So give us some ideas, some suggestions. Criteria would be nice that it doesn't cost a lot and doesn't take a lot of time. But we can make some time, definitely, to support that. But we just need to focus and figure out what that is.
Yeah.
So then we also...
I don't know. What else do we do? I don't even know what we do.
So we also get ad revenue from YouTube.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I totally forgot because that's so much money.
It's not a lot. It would be a lot if we had 200 times the subscribers than we have now.
Then it would be 200 times the $60 we get.
Right.
Which would be amazing.
So, yeah. So right now, ad revenue is... We've got 2,400 subscribers. We'd love to get to that to 24,000 and 240,000. But for right now, we have 2,400 subscribers. We get about $60 a month in ad revenue. So thank you for not turning off your ad blockers or allowing YouTube to do that. That helps. And as we continue to grow that YouTube channel and the YouTube numbers, that will grow even further, and that's no money out of your pocket. It's it's watching an ad. It's really skipping an ad for the most part. Watching a 10-second ad or skipping a longer ad, both count. So that's good. And we would love to get to that point where we're not relying on our community to donate money to us. Just their time would be fantastic to be able to support the channel. Well, we're not going to say no, but we still need to grow and we still need to move, and that's where we're moving to. You want to talk about where we spend the money that comes in?
Well, again, it's
it's on the.
I know. I see it on the little notes that we made. But right now, really, like you said, the spend is just to keep the lights on in this space because we have no, our regular income as far as us being working employed people is just one working employed person right now.
Yeah.
But also just to give you everybody a little bit of insight, so when we do things like we give away cards, decks, books, et cetera, those are all tied to specific numbers that we have calculated out. So like at a certain point, what is it, 30 bits
20,
or 30...
25 inspiration
25
left
inspiration
over.
left over. That obviously has made enough in order to do the giveaway.
Right.
And so that is all calculated into the total dollar amount that comes in and then what we can give back to the community and just say, okay, what kind of things can we give back? Which I find interesting that... I just find it interesting that, like, I would watch and don't... I don't know. I think it's fun to get things back every once in a while.
Yeah.
But for me, I think the most part when I subscribe or donate to other channels, it's not necessarily about the giveaways.
Right.
But, again, that's just me. I think also, too, in some respects, it is kind of important to give away things that help people get started with the game.
Yes.
Like, I find that to be really exciting when people, like, I don't know, like, I'll have conversations in Whisper just being like, I don't know what I want or I don't know what to do. It's like, well, let me make a recommendation or let me ask you what you have.
Yeah.
And how can I get you something that I think is instrumental in our toolbox? Like, we're firm believers in the fact that the books you should own are Player's Handbook, Monster Manual.
If you're a player, Player's Handbook and Xanathar's would be like the main two books for me. I love if you're a spellcaster, getting those Gale Force 9 spell cards is super helpful.
I've been playing. I mean, how long have I been playing? When was the Strahd Cleric that I played?
A few years.
Yeah. So I've been using Gale Force 9 cards for quite a few years now.
We have the original versions, which we had to purchase all of the separate domain cards. And anyway, version 2, way better.
Yep.
They're vertical. That's how you can tell.
So our money goes to obviously the giveaways, and I think even though, like I said, I'm not huge on giveaways and the things that I receive as a giveaway on other channels, I think that some of the things that we give away is definitely instrumental into getting other people playing the game.
Yeah.
Other places that we do giveaways other ways that we spend our money is on social media advertising just to get a broader reach. So organically, I think our audience usually it depends on what the post is, but like on Facebook, organically, I think 300 and some people consistently see our posts.
Right.
But we can always push that even further, with some advertising money to bring more people in and to bring more people into the community. And then the last one, why don't you talk about the 3D filament and the nonstop 3D printers that run every day of my life.
3D printing of terrain pieces mostly. So, or inserts for Gloomhaven. So we didn't back the Broken Token insert because we'll just print one.
Yeah, on Frosthaven. I seriously thought about that. I was like, do we want the inserts? And Thomas was like, no, we'll just...
Yeah, someone will design one. That's the great thing about 3D printing is that so much is open source and free. We use... So we do print a lot. So a kilogram of filament is $20, and that will print out a lot of pieces.
Of terrain, not of miniatures. Miniatures are different.
Minis are different. It's a resin printer. Warren actually bought that. That's his printer. It's not ours.
Nice. So we should be using the hell out of this thing.
Yes. Let's break it before you can get it back. That uses resin, which is, it's $15 for a liter.
So how much resin does it take to make a mini?
Not a lot.
Okay.
It's very small. It's in under 20 grams. So you hollow a miniature out, so you use less filament that way. But that's really that's it. That's where we spend the money. So it's rent.
Yeah.
It's, right now we are buying board games to play. We are buying giveaways, and we're buying 3D printer filament. And we are buying some ads. Not as much as we thought that we would plan on doing, just because it's hard to actually consistently make interesting graphics and advertising. But, when we push, for instance, Natural One coming back with a new arc, we will do an ad buy for that.
Yeah.
I mean, and Facebook ads are super cheap. We're probably going to spend like $50 on it. So not a huge amount, but that $50 will reach a lot of people who are interested in D&D streams.
Yep, and hopefully that gets us to grow, to get us to bigger numbers, to get us to...
The more people watch, the less each person has to donate. That's the way I look at it. So that's really what we do. That's monetization.
Yeah.
On our channel specifically. Quest and Cast doesn't own any of this equipment.
Yeah.
No, I'm wrong. We own one lens.
Ooh.
Everything else is my rental company. So, so that's all that support to be able to get us off the ground is all my day job. That is now zero.
Yep. Yep.
Luckily, there's still invoices coming, but eventually those will stop.
Yep. So hopefully we'll get out of this soon. So wash your hands.
Wash your hands. I want to get back to this space with the wonderful people that we have.
Yeah. Just having community with, just being able to sit next to somebody and talk to them.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. I think that's going to wrap it up.
Yeah. I think we've spent a lot of time just sharing with people things that we just do. And so maybe next week, I don't know. What do you want to talk about next week?
I don't know. You know what?
Coming up next. Next time on Untitled.
Give us some suggestions for main topics. I know that I want to do a gear. Like, what do we use for a gear? And that may, we talked a little bit about Zoom and Skype and all of that stuff, but we may do a deep dive into what gear do you do for being in the room and what gear do you do for doing virtually and remote.
Yeah.
So but let us know. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you want to hear us talk about in this Untitled podcast.
I promise you, it's sticking. It's sticking.
TBD&D?
Maybe. We'll see. Except that we mostly talk about Kickstarter, but that's fine. Whatever.
All right, so that's going to wrap it up for this thing. Thank you for pushing to get this thing done.
I just scribble the notes on paper. That's all I do.
Nice. All right, so that's going to wrap it up. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.